This happened on my first job. I was 18 and needed to earn some money to pay for stuff I wanted to get, and my parents refused to give me, so I went out and found the first job that would take me. This was a field sales job, which, contrary to what you might think, was actually not that bad, apart from the fact that the only pay we got was from sales commissions. I couldn't complain though, since I wasn't all that bad at it. However, I can't say I lasted that long, and here is why. Back then, about 4 months after getting the role, I was sent with my team to the downtown part of the city. Apparently there was a lot of untapped territory there, so the managers thought it would be a great place to go and spend the day. The first part of the day was nice and easy. I hit my sales target for the day in the first 2 hours and got loads of treats from the nice people who would actually come to the door. The other part, however, was not so great. The last building I went into didn't have a front door anymore. The stone was stained between black and white, the walls greasy like it had burned from the inside out, and no one bothered to clean it up. Inside, the steps were cracked and greasy. I had to put my hand to the wall to go up because the floor was slippery and the handrail was nowhere to be found. You would understand why I even bothered to go inside if you knew the trouble you would get into from the bosses if they found out you skipped the building, whatever the state of it was or whatever the reason was. I rang the first doorbell. The door was barely holding up. One hinge seemed to be completely gone. No one came to the door. I was getting anxious, so I tried the door on the other end of the landing, but no answer. No answer at any of the doors on the second or third floor, but I thought I could hear a strange voice in the distance. Definitely a woman's voice, but not coming from inside the apartment I just rang. It seemed to be coming from one of the top floors. That was good. Someone to talk to and see if I could get one more sale. When I got to the last floor, I could tell that whoever I could hear echoing in the building was inside the apartment to my right, but the voice sounded off. It was loud, high-pitched, and coming out in bursts. The house on the left had the door wide open to begin with, and I saw I didn't need to knock. It was completely empty, the walls making it look like it was full-on nighttime inside. There was a stain in the wood of the floor of the landing, running from one house to the other, only dark enough to see. The stain crossed all the landing and led to the house I could hear the lady in. The door for this one was half open, but once again I could see nothing inside. I came closer and put my ear to the door. The lady inside was screaming, loud and in spurts, louder than I was expecting. It startled me, and I thought she might need help, so I held up my phone, ready to call the emergency service, and called out into the house. Hello? Are you alright? If anything was wrong, I thought I just needed to turn and run. Hello! Whoever this was kept going, screaming some word I couldn't make out. I pushed the door open slowly, and it made noise as I thought it would, but nothing seemed to bother this person. In front of the door was what stopped me. There was a pentagram, like the ones I always saw in horror and possession movies, with 3 candles around it and the stain leading to the center. I looked closer and stumbled back into the landing when I realized the stain was dark red and was covering the entire pentagram. It was drawing its lines. I didn't realize until then, but the voice had now stopped. I looked up and saw a person standing at the end of the hallway leading into the house. It was a woman, short and skeleton thin with disheveled hair, wearing only a stained red shirt and absolutely nothing else, holding a knife on one red stained hand and something else on the other. My breath was all over the place as she stood there, looking me up and down in the middle of the black greased walls and floor. Then she let out a scream that startled me as I understood what she had been saying this entire time. For some reason, she was screaming the word knife at me. I was just lost. I couldn't think. I finally realized what she was holding on the other hand. Her hand wasn't just stained red. It was half dried, half glistening blood as she held on to a dead animal by its tail. I could have balled up in a corner and started crying right then and there, but she suddenly charged me, screaming the same word in repeat and pointing this butcher knife at me. I stumbled towards the stairs, tears running down my cheeks. One fell to the floor right in front of me as I turned onto the third floor's landing and made me slip and almost fall into the stairs shaft. I could hear her quick and heavy shoeless steps running after me, and all I could do was run and cry my eyeballs out. Somehow I made it outside, but didn't stop running until I made it to the nice area again. When I stopped, I realized something else. In the midst of everything, I realized the inner parts of my pants were soaking wet. I didn't want to face anyone anymore that day. I didn't want to go back to the office with a pee stain running down my suit pants, and I didn't want to have to explain why I didn't go into any more buildings that day. So, I covered my pants as well as I could, took the first bus home, and never showed up at the office again. No one ever bothered to call me to ask what happened or why I wasn't showing up for work, so I didn't feel like ever calling them as well. And I never took any more jobs that required me to visit strangers' houses. That was the last time I even tried. And I will never go back, just as I know the image of the lady standing half naked in the middle of the corridor with a dead animal hanging from her gripping hand will never leave my mind, ever again. To this day, if you ask me, I will always tell you, do not take any field sales jobs. You never know what you will come across.